This is Comfrt Post Purchase Survey, and if you want to have a deeper look at all of this, I'm going to put the link of this Figma in the bio. But really what I want to do in this video is show you what I believe they're doing right in their post purchase survey and what I think they could do better. So just before we get started looking at the different questions they're asking their shoppers after they just purchased, just want to give you a few data about surveys. So this is according to Comfrt data, which is the app that I use with my clients to run post-purchase survey. So the average email survey response rate is between 10 to 15%, when a good post-purchase survey is between 20-30%. And what I've learned from Comft's own team, and they say that their average on the platform is 45% average response rate. I found that when you start with an open-ended question, usually you get a rate between 10 to 20%. And they told me that we should always start with attribution, where there are multiple possible answers like this. How did you hear about us? They call it multiple choice questions. The reason being that if you lead with an open-ended question, it usually tends to discourage customers. So it's a lot easier to just answer with this. It's literally one of the simplest questions you can ask. And it is very true that every single time I replaced the first question that I was using before with attribution, we always get a response rate above 45%, like always for all clients. So they have the data. I'm just trusting them on that. So yeah, so far this is what gets the majority of people answering the survey. Then you can keep the open-ended questions for later. And as you can see, this is what they're doing. They have 4 multiple choice questions and then they ask the open-ended. Back to the insights. Comft found that the sweet spot is usually between 6 to 10 questions in the survey, with 5 to 6 questions seeing around 90% completion, which is very high. What I do recommend is that you test a long survey and a short survey and see which one does best in terms of completion rate. Most of the time it's going to be the short one, but you want to know if there is a drop-off, and if there is one, where it is. From what I've seen with my clients, usually after 5 to 6 questions, that's where we start to really have a drop. And the thing is, if you have, let's say, 10 questions, and the last question is getting only 2 to 3% of answers of all your buyers, is this 2 to 3% going to be representative of what your buyers think? I don't think so. So in my opinion, it's better to trim a little bit the survey, make it shorter, and increase that completion rate. And what I like to do with my clients is just, flip the survey. Like you use a specific survey for like a month or 2 months, or if you have a very huge bandwidth, for 2 weeks, and then you're gonna ask different questions. So instead of having like a long survey like this with 10 questions, you can have just 3 to 5, and you just change every now and then. And the last insight here is that Comft identified 4 categories of questions you can ask in the post-purchase surveys, which are behavioral data, everything related to motivations, habits, buying for who you're buying, attribution data, zero feedback. This is key. Like this is what I'm doing most of the time, except when my clients want to extend their catalogs, and so they want to ask specific question about product development, like which color would you like to see on a specific product, which other product would you like to see on our catalog, would you like to see new features on our bestsellers, etc., etc. But really, most of the time, it's really with a zero feedback question that I get insights that I can then turn into winning A/B test. It can be friction points on the website itself, but it can also be things like you'll ask people, for example, what do you do before you buy online? And they will tell you, oh, I usually watch a podcast about the brand on YouTube. Or they will say, I read articles online. Or, for example, I browse Medium, the platform, to see if there are anybody, making reviews, testimonial about the brand. And so when you do that, you can clearly identify where exactly on the internet something can turn people into buyers, or on the flip side, repel them from buying from you and instead buy from your competitor. So this is really key. And now let's have a look at Comfrt. So the good thing with Comfrt Post Purchase Survey is that they are using all of the 4 categories, as you will see. But I do believe that the survey is a bit heavy and the position of the question is maybe not the best. So they're starting with attribution, which is really good. Then they're using behavioral data questions. So very simple. Who is this purchase for? What's your age? The good thing here is there is only one answer, right? For who is this purchase, most of the time they're just either for myself, friend, a relative, etc. Age, you must probably just fit into one bracket. And then this is different question than the one we have here, but the answers are mostly the same. There is a nuance though. Here it's what led you to Comfrt today. So this is really like what was the trigger that got you back on the website and made you buy today. When this one is really about when was the first time you hear about us, where was it, basically. So those are 2 different questions with 2 different goals. And, the thing is, I feel in this survey, it can feel a bit redundant. Like you just saw the question, now you just answer like very quickly, this purchase is for myself, my age bracket is between 25 to 34. And then you see this question again, or those answers again, because you see like Instagram, TikTok, all of that is the same as here. This is good because they can use what they learn in here to tailor their retargeting strategy. But I do think that in this post-purchase survey, it feels a bit redundant. And I just wanted to share with you this insight I found on Kno. Their client Hexclad identified top performing podcasts and redistributed 85% of budget to new channels using survey insights. Because of course, if you realize that people came back and bought because they just watch a specific podcast, then you want to spend more budget on podcast. And you can even have, follow-up questions so that people click, for example, on influencer, and then you're going to ask exactly which influencer or which channel, for example. Then we've got good product development questions. Those are open-ended. So typical ones, what additional products would you like us to develop? Where else were you looking to purchase before? If you could design the next color, what would it be? Tell us your favorite. Those are good. They're simple. And like I wrote here, they're great to orient the development of future products or new product variants. I feel though that, they're just pouring everything in the survey, all the categories. And the last 2 questions could be the most important ones, maybe after attribution. But I think they're not, they're really not exploring as much as possible what the zero feedback they could get from this post-purchase survey. If you answer no to was there any part of our store that was difficult to use, that close the survey. So they don't get any valuable feedback from this. If you click on yes, then you have an open-ended question. Can you share which part was most difficult? The problem with this is that it limits everything to just the store. And like I said, you could collect feedback about things outside of the store. This question limits the answer to the store only, and I would have framed it differently, like what almost stopped you from buying today, or what was your main concern before buying. I would change the question to a multiple choice, and of course, add options related to the store. Also, I will bring this question way higher in the survey so that we have more people answering it, because those are the ones getting the least answers because they're at the end of the post-purchase survey, but they have a very strong potential of impact on the brand development, on the CRO program. So yeah, but it depends on the goal of the brand. And second, I would say those are essential questions that they could use to understand better their users' motivation. And right now, they're just not doing it in the survey. First is, why did you buy from Comfrt and not another brand? My guess is that probably they were doing like they're probably asking this question before, or maybe with email surveys. But this is usually like the best question to understand what edge you have against your competitors and what really makes your brand stand out compared to the others. Then we've got what motivated you to buy from Comfrt today. What do you do before buying online? We already talked about this one. Were there any question you had in mind that you couldn't find or an answer to on our website? This is great to craft FAQ to address those and then directly put them on the PDP. If you told a friend about Comfrt, what would they say in one sentence? And what's the one thing you're most excited about your order? Those two last questions are great to collect exactly the words that your customers are using and then reuse those in your marketing, like your Google ads, your meta ads, even your emails, and also on your website. So yeah, that's it. As I say, if you want to have a deeper look, you can just click on the link in the bio. If you want me to craft a specific survey for your brand, you can book a call. I'm going to put a link in the bio also. And if you like this content, please put a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'll put more content like this. So wish you a good day and see you in the next one. Cheers.